Last week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced a 10-month freeze on Jewish construction in the occupied Palestinian territories.
Today, my cabinet authorized a policy of restraint regarding settlements, which will include a suspension of new permits and new construction in Judea and Samaria for a period of 10 months.
The freeze does not include 5,000 new housing units the Prime Minister approved just before the announcement. It also does not include construction of public facilities, such as schools and clinics for settlers, and it allows ongoing settler expansion in East Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, The Real News spoke to Tawfiq Haddad, Palestinian-American journalist with the Faster Times and co-editor of Between the Lines, Israel, the Palestinians, and the U.S. War on Terror.
I don't think that there's much of a basis for political negotiations being restarted at this point. My feeling is that just from assessing the Israeli political map, that Netanyahu is not in a position with his own government coalition, nor is he personally willing to make a kind of political concession to say that he would stop settlement building in Jerusalem. And without that, I don't see the Palestinian leadership engaging in a form of political suicide and going back to negotiations that don't provide for that.
On the Israeli right, the move was received with strong contempt from within Likud, Netanyahu's party. In the settlements, mayors and residents have vowed to disobey and have blockaded roads for inspectors who attempted to enforce the freeze. Some have even threatened to freeze their memberships in the Likud party. Meanwhile, U.S. envoy to the Middle East, George Mitchell, and the Clintons have classified the move as unprecedented.
By many standards, it might be considered unprecedented, actually, perhaps, but of course it depends upon what frame of reference you're looking at the whole thing. As far as I know, Israel's never really offered in previous times to end settlement building or expansion. In 1991, when the Madrid conference was taking place, this was a condition of the first Palestinian delegation that was there, and it was Israel never took that step, and unfortunately negotiations continued thereafter, and almost 20 years later, we have a whole different geopolitical reality on the ground in the West Bank because of it. The real question is, when you, what are we talking about? Like, Israel has already approved the building and expansion of pre-existing settlements that on a scale that would double the amount of settlements of settlers in the West Bank, according to a Peace Now report from March 2009. So just putting those plans on hold for 10 months doesn't mean that they're about to go away. Also, the fact that Jerusalem is out of the picture is not something trivial by any means. Jerusalem is a huge political issue for the Palestinians and the Arab world and the Muslim world, of course. It also is a major issue for the question of if the Palestinian state itself.
In a Haaretz exclusive that went virtually unreported in the other Israeli newspapers, foreign ministers of the European Union released a document that suggested the EU will endorse East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. The document also outlined that the Israeli government and the Jerusalem municipality have been trying to minimize the Palestinian population in the city while maximizing the Jewish. The policy, it says, is acted out through home demolitions, evictions, residency denial, and withholding of building permits. Haaretz reported that since the occupation of East Jerusalem in 1967, 13,135 Palestinians have had their residency rights revoked, and that 250,000 Palestinians in East Jerusalem alone now have the same legal status as new immigrants without citizenship. Israel said the European move would stifle negotiations, and Netanyahu insisted that the Palestinian leadership must get a grip and re-enter negotiations regardless of what's on the table.
The political discourse coming from the Palestinian Authority at this time has been somewhat clearer, shall we say, vis-a-vis the question of restarting negotiations. It's been too long in coming, but it has come, I believe, and I don't believe that they will actually reverse themselves on this issue. And for that reason, I don't see it likely that any kind of negotiations will take place unless all the settlements actually do stop being built or expanded upon. This is in ways a kind of acknowledgement on behalf of the historical Palestinian national leadership that this trajectory has reached its dead end, and it's not clear by any means what that will mean. There are different possibilities, of course, and there are different players that are on the scene who will have their say. It's not just Abu Mazen and his crowd which is running the show. If Hamas can pull off a prisoner exchange that releases significant numbers of Palestinian leaders and both militants and political leaders, that would be a major boon to their political wins. On the other hand, Abu Mazen is not without possibilities or choices, shall we say. He has been able to strengthen his position in the West Bank, partly through American support of his police forces, partly through Fayyad's reorganizing of the Palestinian Authority, and partly because of the political dynamic that developed between the Gaza and the West Bank after the events of 2007, where Hamas took over Gaza after repelling a Fatah coup there. So one of his options might be to sort of work towards transforming the Palestinian Authority into some kind of technocratic body with no political dimensions to it, to basically be able to take care of the domestic civil needs of the Palestinian populations in the area A's and B's, while at the same time perhaps redirecting energies in rebuilding the PLO and reintegrating the diaspora into political decision-making. That's one option he could do, which would probably be wise politically for him to try and do, because the fractured nature of the Palestinian politics has kind of weakened the PLO as the representative body of the Palestinian people. And with Hamas's rise, one of the main cards that Abu Mazen has is the PLO, to try and, if he could reactivate that, he could use it as a way to kind of stymie Hamas's rise and its claims and assert himself as the head of the Palestinian project still. So, but a lot remains to be seen. It's not clear by any means. But in general, I think it might be safe to categorize this as a transitional period. The nature of Israeli oppression, the continuation of occupation, and the consciousness amongst Palestinians of their national rights and their historical national rights, and the intolerableness of the contemporary situation necessitate or will push the situation towards change.